Hello everyone. Haven't been getting much painting done of late, but I have managed to finish this small group of figures. They are 15mm Blue Moon figures from the War Paint range, I think they call it, and they are the little Bighorn personalities. So I've based them once again for Peter Pig's Western rules, which are relatively new, although it's coming up to a year since I purchased them. A relatively new set of rules, basically designed for sort of larger scale war games set in the West. They did used to have a set of rules called Hey, You're in the Jail, but they've ditched those now and replaced them with Western. Anyway, enough of that. So, as I say, based them up for that set of rules, and they are going to act, the ones on the larger 40mm square bases are going to act as the force commanders, and the ones on the 20 by 40mm bases are just going to be leaders for the various groups that compose the force. So I'm going to need more of those because there are going to be more than 2 groups per force, but it's got me started anyway. Yeah, in terms of them representing personalities, it's a little bit strange, really. They are meant to be Custer, Reno and Benteen, although in 15mm it's very hard to tell which one is intended to be Reno and which one is intended to be Benteen. I mean, Custer's obviously Custer because he's got his fringed buckskin or calfskin or whatever it is jacket and trousers on. But both the Reno and Benteen figures have very clear and obvious moustaches. One of them has what might be a little bit of a goatee beard, so I've decided that that one is Reno. But as far as I can see from, just my usual cursory research and exploration of images on the web and in books and so on, I haven't actually found a photograph of Benteen that portrays him with a moustache, although most of the photographs would have been in his later career rather than at the time of the Battle of the Little Bighorn. So maybe he did have a moustache, but anyway, I've gone for this one being Benteen, wearing gauntlets, this one being Reno. But in terms of the natives, it's even more of a problem because there are 3 of them, and they are intended to be Crazy Horse, Ghoul, and Lame White Man. Now, Crazy Horse and Ghoul are often portrayed in wargaming figure ranges, and it seems to be the convention which has been adopted from sort of descriptions and photographs of the Native American Indians at the time, and specific descriptions of Ghoul and Crazy Horse, that Crazy Horse was particularly well armed, sometimes carried 2 rifles, whereas Ghoul is often shown with a kind of large tomahawk. So I didn't really have any problem in deciding that therefore this one must be Lame White Man, who was a Cheyenne, and this figure is portrayed with clothing, and actually Western style clothing. He seems to have like a jacket and what we in the UK would call a waistcoat, but in America is often referred to as a vest. So I decided that was Lame White Man, and I've decided that this one is Crazy Horse, so he is going to be the force leader, and this one is Ghoul. I've painted, I've got a particularly good illustration of Crazy Horse that I'll put up on the video. I'll talk over the photograph, not the photograph, the image, the scan of the image while you listen, and it's taken from the magazine Military Illustrated, and in fact it was in the very first edition of the magazine, which came out in 1986. And when Military Illustrated first came out, it was an absolutely superb magazine. Unfortunately, over the years the editorship changed and it deteriorated a lot, not only in terms of the quality of the articles and the illustrations and the paper and so on, but whereas at the start it was a very useful reference source for wargamers, it slowly kind of morphed so that it appealed mainly to reenactors, and unfortunately that kind of segued a little bit into an interest in weaponry, and in turn, because it had a large kind of American audience, unfortunately that did begin to reflect kind of political opinions as well, gun law and so on, and the entrenched kind of political opinions in America. So that then was reflected in a lot of kind of overtly political and partisan comments in a lot of the articles, particularly at the time of the wars in the former Yugoslavia and so on. And it got a little bit distasteful, but I did stick it out right to the end. Eventually, its sales dropped dramatically, and it went digital temporarily, and then ceased publication altogether. And I've got all of the magazines, but I really only treasure the first sort of decade, I think, of its existence. So if you ever see those magazines in bring and buys and used bookshops and so on, definitely check them out, because there's some fantastic articles in them. But anyway, you can see from the image, what a good kind of reference source it is for the character of Crazy Horse. And one of the things I've tried to do in particular, to take you back to these figures now, with all of these Native American leaders, is to paint, to go a little bit, kind of put a bit more effort into painting the horses. And the illustration in War Games Illustrated describes Crazy Horse at the Battle of the Little Bighorn as riding what's called a yellow pinto. And to be honest, I can't really see what the difference is between a yellow pinto and a palomino. So I've given him those kind of colours. I've given the horse those kind of colours anyway. The illustration also says the horse is smeared with gopher dust, but in 15mm that's a little bit difficult to reproduce. Lame White Man is just on a pinto, and I've had a go at painting an Appaloosa for Ghoul. Now the other thing I'll show you on the Old Glory websites, both the American and the UK one, it shows this. It has a photograph for this group of figures, and it shows Custer riding this particular model, this particular horse, which is sort of feeding, sort of stationary horse feeding, taking the opportunity to graze a little bit. And I really like that pose and think it's ideal for Custer to be on it. But there's very clearly 3 horses which have the Native American kind of rein, just a single-sided attachment to a bit in the horse's mouth. So these 3 horses at the front are clearly intended to be for the Native American figures, whereas these 3 horses all have the kind of Western style harness. So I don't know what the photographer was thinking of when they photographed it in that way. It's just one of those things. So that made it particularly hard to work out whether the figures were intended to represent Custer, Reno and Benteen, which is the way that they are ordered in the description, and it makes you wonder, well, is that the order in which they appear in the photograph? So I didn't trust the photograph very much. But anyway, I'm quite pleased with all these figures, happy with the way they turned out. The larger base is a little bit large for a single figure, but I didn't really want to spend a lot of time painting up other figures and putting them on the base, so happy to get on with that. And yeah, I'm quite looking forward. Eventually, it's going to take me a little while. I haven't been painting very much lately, and it's going to take me a little while to get the forces together to play this game. But I think in terms of my 15mm projects, I'm going to stick with this and carry on and paint another group of figures, and hopefully make progress towards playing the game in the not too distant future. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Bye for now.